The topics, views, and opinions expressed on the air and via All Igniting Change with Barbara Arnwine, platforms by host Barbara Arnwine Esquire, guests, and supporters are their own and are independent of any organization, entity. Nothing said on the show or any of its platforms constitutes a client-attorney relationship or serves as legal advice, counsel. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Igniting Change, its platforms, or the show's host. It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, the listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Arnwine.
The following program is paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
Stand up for your right.
All right now, welcome to Igniting Change. Oh, do we have a good show for you today, because so much has been going on in our country, and it's time for us to talk about how we respond to this moment in history. Oh, we want to talk about what's going on with the movement and the fight for reparations. We want to talk about today what's going on with defending our black museums across the country. We got so much to talk about, but before we get into that, let me introduce my mighty co-host, the chair of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition, one of our nation's most brilliant attorneys. I am so delighted to introduce none other than Daryl D. Jones, Esquire. Hey, Daryl.
Hey, Barbara, it must be Tuesday. It must be noon Eastern Standard Time, because we're talking about igniting change here on iconic WOL. Barbara, it has just been an incredible week. I hope everyone had just a wonderful Memorial Day break and holiday and celebration and remembrance of those that have given their lives for and service to our country. And Barbara, we're turning the page now. We're back talking about reparations in the United States. We're going to be talking about this administration, and my goodness, they just seem so bent on going after African American history. Now they have teed up the Boston African American Museum. I can't wait to get into these discussions, Barbara. Just two great discussions, two weighty topics, and two very timely issues.
Yes. And, Daryl, I just want to remind everybody that yesterday, talking about Black history, yesterday the nation celebrated as a national federal holiday what's called Memorial Day. Don't forget, people, Memorial Day was started by Black people. It was the African American community in Charleston, South Carolina, and amongst many others that looked at those mass graves of the Union dead and said, this is unfair. These people fought for our freedom. And they fought, black and white soldiers fought to free us, fought against the South that wanted to imprison us, and we're going to honor them. And what they did was they took the bodies out of that mass grave and created individual graves for each of the people, each of those soldiers, and decorated the graves with American flags, and a lot of flowers. There's some beautiful pictures of the flowers that they decorated the graves with. And they had a major parade and march. So everybody knew what had happened on that day, that was Decoration Day, to celebrate the legacy and the gift of all those soldiers who had died in the Civil War. So this is what became Decoration Day was because it became so widespread throughout the country, it became known as Memorial Day. Once again, you don't know American history unless you know Black history. Black history is American history. So this is a powerful reminder of how we got somewhere and where people don't know the connections, and they need to know, because you learn so much history within that one retelling. Right, Daryl?
Absolutely, Barbara. It really underscores, highlights, triple circles, however you want to put it, the importance of having museums, the importance of learning history, the importance of not having books banned, and lifting up the experiences of everyone who have contributed to make this country a great place, Barbara. You're absolutely 100% on point with that, and nothing could lift that up more than understanding the history of Memorial Day and how it came into being.
All right now. So, folks, we are so excited because we have some incredible guests with us today. We have making his inaugural appearance on the Igniting Change, and somebody who I was just blessed to meet 2 weeks ago during the National Reparations Rally Assembly in Washington, D.C. And so the title of our show today ties to everyone. It's called Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Us Around. Come on now. You know that old black gospel song, that civil rights marching song, Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Us Around. The fight for reparations and in defense of black museums. And so our first guest, I was so blessed to meet him 2 weeks ago, and he is a powerhouse. He is the Honorable Jesse Wineberry, Esquire, Jesse Wineberry, Esquire. He is a U.S. Supreme Court licensed attorney and former Washington State House Majority Whip. He's co-founder and director of the Washington Equity Now Alliance, WENA, W-E-N-A. WENA is the statewide pro-equity nonprofit organization which led 2022 successful campaign for Governor Jay Inslee to sign Executive Order 22-02, rescinding prior governor's directive and paved the way for race and gender-conscious equity in Washington State. However, Mr. Wineberry attended the Supreme Court arguments in the what we now know as the SFFA case regarding affirmative action in the courts. Sadly, that on June 29th, the court limited the use of race in college admissions. Now, this is a case that has been so misinterpreted and misused around the country, but nevertheless, it opened the door. So he had to lead WENA statewide DEI empowerment seminar, which trained over 1,000 state employees on how to keep the doors of opportunity open for women in BIPOC communities while remaining in full compliance with the Supreme Court decision. He was a 2024 elected national delegate to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Of course, Daryl and I and others were there. Attorney Wineberry is married to Attorney Rochelle Harrison Wineberry. They are proud parents of Jesse Wineberry Jr. and Mia, Genesis Wineberry. Here's a link to, and everybody can look at the Charles Mitchell reparations study budget, and there's been many articles, but they accomplished something major last Tuesday, and we want the nation to know. So we are happy to have as our guest, one of our major guests today, the Honorable Jesse Wineberry, Esquire. Welcome to Igniting Change, sir.
It's good to be with you, Attorney Arnwine and Attorney Jones. I bring you greetings from the other Washington State, that a lot of people forget about. But yeah, Washington State is on the leadership path and the leadership role for reparations, and it's so good to be with both of you today.
All right now, this is mighty, mighty, mighty work you've been doing in Washington State. Just mighty work. Woo! Wish we had, had people like you every single state in the union. Oh my goodness, thank you. I also want to introduce my sister, our treasurer of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition. She is a former and the first African-American woman to serve in the Massachusetts State Senate. She's also one of Boston's treasures, one of their most renowned activists. She gets things done. She is, you might recall during COVID, she was out there leading and fighting so persistently to make sure that the Black community was protected, and dealing with all those inequities that were going on with the lack of equal treatment, the lack of access to all kinds of medications, everything that was wrong going on with COVID, and the fact that even the Black community had been actually designated as a lesser zone for helping people. I mean, she was all over it, and I just can't wait to hear her perspectives today about what's going on with that attack on the Black Museum in Boston. None other than Dianne Wilkerson. Hey, Dianne.
You can't imagine how excited I am to be here today. You are right. So much is happening. Let's get to it.
Woo! You said it. And then we're going to be joined shortly by Adjoa Aiyetoro. And Adjoa's returning to our show. She's one of the nation's foremost experts on reparations. And, of course, she's one of the major civil rights litigator. She was instrumental in the entire study and the fight for reparations for the people in that were tied to the Georgetown University's selling, quote, of its, quote, slaves, its enslaved people, in order to pay its debts so that the university could continue. Many of those people who were sold, quote, down south into some of the most vicious, toughest, evilest plantations, and suffered tremendously. Families were disunited, all kinds of injuries. And she led the way to getting reparations so that the descendants of those families now are enjoying or are entitled to all kinds of recompense, including free education, but also monetary compensation and other compensation to make their lives better. So that is when Adjoa comes, we will welcome her. She'll be here shortly. All right. So Daryl, let's get into this show because we got some things to talk about. So why don't we start with Washington State? Because most people are just, I know they're scratching their head, Attorney Wineberry. They're like, Black folks in Washington State, they're like, we want to hear about this fight for reparations. So why don't we get into what has been going on in Washington State? So congratulations to you, to all the people that are part of WENA. Please tell our audience what happened last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday, Barbara, the governor of Washington State, Governor Bob Ferguson, put his pen to paper and signed into law the first study on reparations for descendants of victims of U.S. chattel slavery. The first study in the state in the state's history. The first state study funded by a state in the Pacific Northwest. We follow California and New York and Colorado and also Washington, D.C. in terms of putting our money where our mouths have been for a long time to start the study that will be a 2-year study that will cover the history of slavery, not only in the U.S., but specifically in Washington State, which was only a territory during the slave period, but yet